to another episode of the Hot Topic Podcast with your host, Patrick Quanch.
On this episode of the Hot Topic Podcast, I'm joined by my good friend and business associate, Stephen Farr from Sage Oil Vac. Stephen is an innovative, forward-thinking leader in our industry with a track record of success at every stage of his career. We dive into the exciting developments at Sage Oil Vac, explore the future of our industry, and discuss how social media continues to reshape the landscape. Stephen also shares some valuable tips for getting past gatekeepers during sales calls, insights you certainly won't want to miss. So without further delay, let's jump into the podcast. Stephen Farr from Sage Oil Vac on the Hot Topic Podcast. How are you, brother?
Good, Pat. How are you doing, sir?
I appreciate you wanting to jump on the podcast, man. I really thank you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite. Here we go. First one out of the hole. Hopefully we set the bar high. But I know I just wanted to wish you all the success, and I'm looking forward to seeing this grow and all the contacts that'll be involved in this and how we can grow our industry. So very exciting, and congrats.
Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate that, brother. Yeah, man, that's the hope, right? I wanted to give those in our industry, our fairly obscure industry, the opportunity to have a voice. You and I have met some amazing people in our time together, and I've been doing it for over 30 years, and you've been in the industry for a really long time, and there's just a lot of great people out there that really are looking for some exposure, and just to be able to get their message out. And the traditional marketing routes for our industry are fairly limited, right? We do a lot of trade shows, Work Truck Week. There's all kinds of trade shows throughout the year. Traditional marketing, I found, it's just not as effective as it used to be. I kind of look at it from a two-dimensional to what we're doing here is a three-dimensional look at things. It gives people an opportunity to connect with people they may not have otherwise had the opportunity. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing grows and how it touches lives. And I really love hearing people's stories, man. They're so fascinating to me. So,
yeah, we all have stepping stones that we've gone through in life to get us to where we are today. I think it's very important to understand that a lot of people have to really sacrifice a lot of things to get where they want to go in life and go through lots of trials and tribulations. And that's one thing, obviously, when you're discussing this podcast, is to getting to know people and where they are and, what makes us click, and, just trying to grow that base that's out there, and helping people just move the needle more, and together we're better. So.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Together we're better, and that is certainly for sure. I just think there's just a lot there's a lot of guys and ladies out there that could really benefit from more connections. Just you can't have enough in this industry. There's so much out there that we can help our customers together, and just presenting opportunities and ideas and thoughts, and trying to fix problems. And there's a solution to every problem that's out there, and I firmly believe having enough connections and enough good connections, you can solve a lot of problems together. I firmly believe that.
Oh, completely.
Yeah,
Completely.
man. Yeah, for sure. So how's Sage? How's business? What's going on in your world?
Oh, it's busy. Obviously, we're just trying to grow more market share, and exposing people to Sage Oil Vac and the Sage Oil Vac advantages that we have. And that's been very exciting. We're based out of Amarillo, Texas. Everything's manufactured out of there, and got an incredible crew, incredible CEO and visionary, Aaron Sage. So my role is business development, currently, and also doing territory management as well. So I've got Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Arkansas helping develop that area, which is, that's an area that we do very, very well. But we obviously want to grow it some more, and then definitely get it further beyond, you know, the U.S. market, but also getting a little bit further out and going, to Australia. We sell some stuff in Australia and some different markets across the country. So that's been fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, for sure. Yeah, getting that product out there. I know we were talking off camera how you guys are in Australia and have some, have some representation in Mexico. What's obviously you make a product that is a global product, but um talk to me about the pumpless part of your product. What makes that so unique?
So you know, we're the only manufacturer out there that builds a loop skid currently that doesn't have a pump on it. So Sage was created by Gary Sage, which is Aaron's father, and basically we've created a system that doesn't have to use a pneumatic pump. Pneumatic pumps, they work in a lot of different sectors and markets and stuff, but there's maintenance to them. There's issues that as far as cross contamination, uh, you know, just a diaphragm pump that just wears out. So anytime that those things break down, you got to work on them, and that's time that's not being spent on creating revenue. It's actually time that's being spent on fixing a problem to create revenue. So our system's completely pumpless, runs off pressure and vacuum. So the maintenance on it is very, very limited. The only maintenance you really have on our systems is just reassuring that all your connections and seals are tight. You take care of your hose reels and your meters, and our system will last for a very, very long time. We have some scenarios where, like our loop skids that we build, they're 15 years old and still out in the market, still rocking and rolling. They'll call and want to order a new hose reel or hose or a new meter. So those are the types of things that we normally replace. And then our system's designed with a 10,000 micron filter, which is up to standard with CAT. So all these systems are designed for our yellow iron friends or anybody that's in, the rental industry or dealing with heavy equipment. Um, and with that, we also build fuel and lube trucks. We have non-CDL, which has no fuel. Then we have our class 7, which is a 1,000 gallon, and our class 8, which is a 2,000 gallon. So whether you're a customer that has a chassis already or needs help finding one, we have the resources to do that, put it together and put together the whole package for you and get it delivered. And then we take tremendous effort and stride in our in-service. Our in-service is basically when you buy a truck from us, we like to come out and help you onboard all your chemicals and everything that you're going to be installing on there, and then working with the technician on how to operate our equipment, because it is different. And once you put it side by side with a pneumatic system, we're normally 2 to 1 faster. So obviously the changes in temperature have everything to do with oil. So in some cases, you may have to preheat oil. You have to put heaters in our systems, which we do that. We have enclosed bodies that we build as well. But yeah, sky's the limit. We also build trailers, whether it's just a standard PM trailer or even our wind generator trailers that go out that are very, very extravagant, because they've got a 400-foot hose reel that goes all the way up to the wind turbine, and we have a whole trailers designed around that sector, which it's been a very good product for us.
Wow,
Yeah.
a 400-foot hose reel. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get, you have to be able to get up there to be able to service that engine that's suspended 400 feet in the air. So yeah, that's crazy. And when you stop to think about it, you never see, when you drive by and look at those wind turbines, you never see anybody servicing them. I never have, but I mean, they have to be.
Yeah, and they've made a lot of improvements on the gear oil, as far as lifespan. But most people don't know this, but there's 80 gallons of lubricant up inside those wind turbines. So uh, that's got to be removed, and then we have a cleaning process where you'll flush it, and then once you flushed it, you bring the flush fluid down, and then you go back and put new fluid in there. So
Oh,
there's a lot involved. to get one of these done. But it's a fun market. It's definitely different. And then, all our trailers too. We manufacture all our trailers and all our tanks. We are an OEM distributor for Reelcraft. It's a very limited group as an OEM. So what that means is all our hose reels are designed to Sage's specifications, and we have our own part number as well. So if you need to replace a hose reel or anything like that, you'll have to buy it either through our distributorship or through Sage Oil Vac to do replacements, because they are our serial number and part number that's involved in that. We also use our own hoses. We have our hoses that we get from a manufacturer here in Texas, and we wind those and do those ourselves in house. And what's nice about it too is they're all labeled with our information on the hose. For every feet, you'll be able to see the Sage Oil Vac logo, the part number, and all that. So if you need replacement stuff, we make it real easy for you to do that with our great inside support staff on replacement parts and service.
Yeah, that's impressive. It's just knowing that you don't have to thumb around some instruction manual to be able to figure out where to go get parts. They just know they can come right back to you. That's super easy. How long? Let's see. When did Sage get started? Was it in the 90s? Is that right?
1993.
93. Wow.
Yeah, and it's really cool because, like, obviously Amarillo is where we're based out of. The Sage family's out of Dalhart, which is a little further north of up into the Panhandle. And basically, they're farmers. And how this kind of got started is Gary, which is Aaron's dad, would go out and change oil on these big cat engines out in the field that basically ran irrigation pumps. And being able to drain oil out of one of those and put oil back in there was kind of a process and not much fun. And so basically the process that he did was, okay, I'm going to create this tank that creates vacuum and suck the oil out of it. And he wasn't looking at it from the point of adding oil in it at that time. It was more just taking the oil out, and to prevent mess on the ground, because back a long time ago, I don't think a whole lot of people were catching oil. They might have just let it go, you know, and that didn't sit well. So, he wanted to create a way that was cleaner, faster, and easier for him to do. And so he created this trailer, and I think we have pictures of it on our website. But that's kind of how I got started. And then some neighbors, all those farmers, they all talk, and he had some neighbors say, "Hey, what in the world is that?" And he was like, "Well, this is what I'm using to drain the oil out of the engines, the irrigation engines that we have out there." And so he built one for some of his neighbors, and then he was like, "Man, this might be a business." And so they started going to some shows, and that's kind of where we are today. It grew, and it's a definitely unique process.
Isn't it crazy how a lot of businesses are started just out of need, right? Someone sees a need, they feel like that they can, they can improve on things or even just make their life a little bit easier, to the point to where, um, like you said, somebody comes along to figure out, hey, I think I can use that too, and then all of a sudden a business is formed.
Right.
It's absolutely crazy. Wow.
Yeah, he still comes by the office. Gary does. Obviously Aaron's 100%, all involved, all in every day to day. But yeah, it's nice to see Gary come around every once in a while because, obviously he created this thing. So
Yeah.
here we
Yeah.
are, us kids just trying to grow it.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Aaron, I'm sure Aaron just absolutely loves the business and just loves the growth and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Aaron went to Texas A&M. He's got a degree there. He worked for Cargill for a while, and then his dad asked him to come, help him with the company, and then
Wow.
here we are. So, yeah.
And you guys are expanding plant up right?
Yeah.
You guys are, oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Tell us
yeah.
a little
So
bit of that.
we just put a temporary building. I think it's the first property is 9 acres, and we're doing a 100,000 square foot new facility. 75,000 of it will be manufacturing. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so we'll be able to move. So we own Amarillo tanks. Amarillo tanks was originally called Wellborn tanks. Very interesting story here. So, Wellborn tanks is I believe it's like 1911. It's 19 early 1900s is when they were founded, but they're a tank manufacturer for locomotive steam engines, and it's not actually the tank of the steam engine. It was the tank that was used to put water into the steam engine tank whenever they would stop at the stops, train stops, whatever. And so it's really neat. That building is the original building. So the floor's got like these 12 by 12 timbers in the floor, and, just the smell, of all the manufacturing that's gone on in there in the years, and the conversations you can still hear. And then train tracks still run kind of inside the building to where you would unload tanks to get them out. So we used to outsource our tanks for a long time, but now all our tanks are manufactured by Amarillo Tank, which is owned by Sage, and some of that will be pushed into the new manufacturing building, and then some of it will stay over at the original building. So if you're ever in Amarillo and you want to come see Sage Oil Vac, just give us a shout. We'd love to give you a tour. So
Oh man, yeah, I would love that. Yeah, I've been familiar with Sage's product for years, but I've never made my way to Amarillo to see the operations. I would absolutely love that. That'd be very cool.
yeah, we'd love to have you, and anybody who's listening as well. We'd love to have you too.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a heck of an invitation, man. I think it's great that you guys are um you're going down the path of growth, and obviously business is good, right? When business isn't good, you're not growing at the rate that you guys are. So that's awesome. Um, the big thing is like we were talking about earlier, outside of like trade shows and things like that. How do you guys get the word out there? I mean, I do believe you have a team of sales guys that are out knocking on doors and things like that. You have a pretty good team out there doing that, I assume.
Oh yeah, we have a really really good team. There's five including me, and then you got Aaron and Chance who are very active in sales too. They've been doing it since the day one. So Chance is our chief of sales. He's been with the company for 12 years. Known Chance and Aaron for a good while. So yeah, we have a great group that goes out there. We have Eric who actually covers. He lives in Vegas, so he covers like that area, Arizona, Vegas, and over into Colorado. Then we got Drew Hunt who covers like north central area. We got Drew Farrell, who's up in the Northeast, and then we have Mark Steinberg, who is in the Southeast Central Florida area, covering all that, Georgia and everything. So, um, yeah, it's a great team. We all have our different personalities, which makes us really exciting and fun to be around.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, that's what it really takes to make a great team is,
Yeah.
bringing a lot of great people together.
You gotta let
And
them think too. That's the thing. I mean,
yeah.
when you're in a leadership role, it's very important to have them engaged and make them feel involved. I think that's certain things that happen, when you go work for a larger company is sometimes, it's just a voice versus actually it being substance. Don't get me wrong, we all talk, the sales team talks, leadership talks, if you're coming up with like a problem or something like that, and it's easy to find problems, but if you can come up with solutions when you come up with these problems, or maybe just try to make things better, it just shows that you're more involved than just, hey, we have a problem. Great. Anybody can point out the problem, but have you really thought about a way to make this a little bit better? What's your thoughts? And we always want to have that clear path of conversation. It just makes it a lot easier for growth. And then every territory is different. Um, in my career, I've traveled, California, been up to Pacific Northwest, East Coast, Central, Florida. Uh, Man, you think in the truck industry world, everything's the same. No, it's not. It's so different. There's a mix of flavors everywhere. You have people that love black grill guards, and you have people who love stainless steel grill guards. I mean, it's just the craziest thing, to assume that this country is all thinking work trucks the same and they're not. So
No, you're 100% right. I mean, You have, and it's crazy when you go into a different market. Like when I fly into a different market, of course, I'm looking at, the vocational trucks, and you're right. I mean, you'll see something there that, just doesn't exist in your normal everyday life, but it works for them and they love it, and they wouldn't have it any other way. And then sometimes it's just bringing some exposure to them,
Yeah.
allowing them to see something different, right? And it may work out for them. But you're right, man. You can go to just different parts of the country, and everything is so different.
Yeah, look at that, like perfect example, cement trucks. I'm used to a conventional cab in Texas with a mixer in the back, and you go somewhere else, and I don't know what they call those things, but I was like, man, that cement truck's going backwards down the road. What's wrong with that? But
Yeah,
it's just different.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
but it's what makes it fun. And you know, um, when I'm talking to somebody that's thinking about getting into the industry or is in the industry, maybe struggling, um, you know, or maybe a young kid that's in college thinking about it or whatever, the best way I can explain our industry is it's like a master's degree that never ends. And if you're okay with that, and you always want to like push the needle and learn more, and basically play like I told my kids a long time ago, they were like, "Dad, if you could explain your job, how would you explain it?" And I said, I play with Legos every day with cars and trucks. I mean, it's you're putting pieces together, you're making things work. But yeah, that whole thing about this being a master's degree in college, that's the way it is. And I've told you this before. I said, the minute that I feel like I know everything is the time to hang it up, because that's just my mind just bewildered and not hungry anymore. So
yeah, yeah. Well, I can tell you certainly that, there for a long time, you and I were considered some of the youngsters in this industry, and it's not the case anymore, man. We're right in the middle. We're teetering. There's some young, um, aggressive people that are entering our industry.
mhm.
We've got, the older part of our industry, and um, they don't want to they don't want to grow. They just feel like, man, I don't have a whole lot of time left in this industry, and they're kind of reluctant to change for sure, but even how we do things, right? So 20 years ago, the only real way to go out and get business was to go knock on doors and cold call and things like that. And, obviously those days are going away. There's fewer people that want to do those things. Um, since COVID, I firmly believe it's harder to get to a decision maker. It's super convenient for when you're up there trying to get past a gatekeeper. You're trying to find the truck buyer, or, a director of some sort, and their answer is very convenient of, well, they work remote. You can't get to them, and it makes it very difficult to try to make those connections as we did 20, 30 years ago. Um, but with the newer generation, the younger generation, they don't know what it's like to really go and get out and prospect and make cold calls all day long. They just don't. Um, it's easy to connect with people on LinkedIn. And you kind of get caught up that way. I believe that's a decent way to connect with people, but it doesn't build relationships um, in a genuine way. And I know you've been really good at that, and you got some uh, you got some tips and some insight on. I know you're really good at it on how to crack a door and get in there and build a relationship with people, man. I'm sure there's a lot of people, myself included, would love to be able to hear some tips on how to
I'm an
crack that
open
door
book.
open.
Yeah, I'm an open book, and um, majority of the stuff that I have is stuff that I've learned from others. Um, I will say, LinkedIn is incredible. I think I want to say like maybe '06, '07, somewhere around there, probably the timeline that I created my account. Didn't really use it for the purposes like it's being intended now is looking for a job, and how to maybe network with people to find something else. And I think there's a lot of companies out there and I think it's past, but there may be some that are still out there that are skeptical about LinkedIn, and I don't like my employees being on there because they're completely exposed to this environment of networking of colleagues, people, stuff like that, and they're just looking for jobs. Well, if you're worried about them looking for jobs, then they probably are. You've probably already lost them. The way I look at it is I mean, we just got through doing a LinkedIn audit on our entire staff for sales, just to kind of go over and suggest ways to make your profile look a little bit more professional. It wasn't anything that we, told them they had to do because it's their account, but it's just stuff. Hey, if you want to make this look a little bit more presentable and you want to do this, this is stuff you ought to do. So, I think I would encourage, people to do that, to do a self audit on themselves, and make sure that, they're hitting all the marks. And as far as like cold calling, that's probably one of my favorite things to do. It's probably one of the, you know, things that most people don't like to do, which is they use LinkedIn to connect with people and then, like, hey man, I just connected with this guy. They're going to call me. Did you call them? No. Did you message them? No. So why, just because you linked up with them doesn't mean that they're going to buy from you or they have a relationship with you. Um, when I normally go out and cold call or I'm with the salesperson, we're doing we'll obviously try to set up meetings for, uh, you know, set time meetings, right? You've set up a meeting proposals, you actually got a meeting set up. And let's say that meeting only lasted 30 minutes, but it was good. And you have time left over. My thing is I normally get in the car, take my notes, and then I start looking for businesses that are around there. Because if there's a business there, there's businesses around. And then just start cold calling. It's fun to go do that because you can literally show up to X company and get on LinkedIn, look up their profile, find somebody in there that has a name, and then you have a name to say when you go in there. And then one of the things that, being out in the patch and dealing with oil field, you'll go into their so-called office and there's nobody there but like a phone to call, and you have to have the number to call. Um, in that kind of scenario, I mean, I get in trouble. I drive around the fence, go around to the back, find the guys. Normally I'm driving a demo crane truck or something. And the guys are, oh, they're all, and then every once in a while you have somebody, hey man, you can't be back here. I get it, but I'm trying to get a hold of somebody. It's better to ask for forgiveness in that kind of scenario and get to know somebody. And it goes a long ways. As far as like going into a building and getting stonewalled with the gatekeeper, one of the things that's always really helped me is I'm normally traveling. So I would always say, hey, I know we don't have an appointment or anything, but this guy I found on LinkedIn, you can be honest with him and say, I found this, and I really want to meet with him because I feel like we could bring value and help y'all with your business. And I'm in town this week. So if there's a time this week that I can meet with this person, or maybe this isn't the right person, I would really appreciate that. And then really connecting with that person, because a lot of people are very, proud of the things they like. I like Willie Nelson. So, if you walk into my office and maybe you're getting a complete rejection from me, but you made a connection with me going, hey, I went to a Willie Nelson concert with my dad when I was like 13. Really? Where at? I mean, it just changed the whole dynamic. And I think that's it. It's really getting to know people genuinely, not fake. And the number one thing that, I've had people tell me this in my life is, you take, quality over quantity. And that goes with relationships and people you want to do business with and partners. A quick sell is a quick sell. Anybody can do that. And it's the next person that comes in that's going to get it because they're not committed to you. But if you got a relationship with them, they're going to call you.
Yeah.
And they may not be calling you for what you like. That was probably one of the things that you and I had a really good relationship with. We've known each other for a long time, and you call me and say, hey, Steven, I can't get a hold of this manufacturer's rep. Can you tell me the size and dimension on this body? And I'd be like, yes, sir. And I would just go through it and give you all the stuff that you need. It wasn't even the body that I sell, but you were calling me. And to me, that bared fruit because I was, I think you used it in terms as bat line or I don't know, something like that.
The bat phone?
The
Yes.
bat phone.
Yeah. There was
But you
that.
have
There
other,
was
and you
there
got a
was
lot
a
of other
lot of
vendors out there who do that for you too. Now,
yeah.
so that's been
Yeah.
fun to see that grow.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been blessed. I've had some really good vendors along the way and some great people like yourself that have really allowed me and helped me grow my business. And, I always try to give back everywhere I could. Um, and I think that's just a healthy way of doing business. We can't, there's a lot of people out there that look at that vendor, um, sales relationship, and they're not willing to give you any information because in fear of, you taking their customer. I never looked at it like that. It's like, this is our customer. If I'm gonna sell your product, if I'm gonna sell, you know, a Sage product, that's our customer. Even though you didn't directly sell them, I may have, but at some point they're gonna need to contact you for any questions that they have about your product or warranty or parts replacement or, or more product.
Yeah.
I was never afraid of that. I figured if a customer is calling you and inquiring about getting more product, I would hope, and I'm going to tell you that my thought is 100% of the time you were calling me back. Hey man, this guy wants to buy two, three, five more, and it just built a great relationship. And I hope that the the younger generation gets that. Um, that it's not an this isn't an individual process. It takes multiple people to put things together. And you said it best by it's you've got to take it beyond the transaction. You've got to build the relationship because they're, our customers are getting called on by a lot of people all day, every day. And like you said, if it's just based on transactions, that customer has no loyalty to you.
Right.
But when you're built on relationship, there's a lot more loyalty there. And those are the things, like you said, it's just better to have a few great customers, uh, rather than a whole bunch of customers that might not be able to pick you out of a lineup, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the relationships come in for sure, man. So what so what would be your suggestion? How do we keep fostering the young generation into our industry? Because let's face it, our side of the industry, what we do, it's not sexy, it's not glamorous, it's very lucrative, and it can be a very good industry for people that give it time and let it work. It can be very beneficial. What would you say to the new generation? How would you create opportunities for our younger generation to be a part of it?
Well, I mean, I some of the best sales reps that I've ever had never really started off in the and directly just from sales. A lot of them came from the shop, or maybe they had some background in automotive skills of some sort. But the biggest thing is just again relationship building. Um, what's tough to have this conversation is that we live in a world that's completely different where text messages are looked at ways of communicating and versus a phone call. And we have some customers that by golly, that's all they want is either an email or a text. And you gotta modify it to that. So I think that that's very appealing to younger generation. But at the same time, when a lead comes in or something like that, you got to call them too. I mean, you can't just assume that you're going to do it. You're going to close something through a text or assume you're going to close something through an email. So I mean, I highly encourage anyone who's whether they've are college degreed or non-college degree, this is a great market to be in. The one thing that I feel like, you were hitting on it earlier is, you and I worked on a lot of projects together, but there's a lot of projects we worked on together that other people were involved in certain times. And what I mean by that is sometimes you didn't have the truck and we had to get this deal done, or um, maybe maybe you and I were working on this deal together for a long time, but come to find out they are actually buying from somebody else too. We didn't even know about it. So the biggest thing is transparency. And has it always been clean? Has it always been bulletproof, the transparency side of it. I think I've tried to do the best that I can, but it doesn't mean that it's always gone down like you want it to. Some people had their feelings hurt or got upset, and that is definitely something that I still hold deep in my chest. Of man, I could have handled that better. Or it wasn't anything flagrant. It's just stuff happens. It just gets messy sometimes. So more open transparency, if you're talking to a dealer and a dealer's like, hey, this customer only buys from me. If you know right then and there that that you're already dealing with a customer, but they buy from 3 other dealerships, you might want to go, hey man, I get where you're coming from, but I just want you to know they are buying from this other place as well. And to me, you may be the bearer of bad news to some people, but I would say in most cases, I would hope that that person who's receiving that information would go, and he's telling me the truth, and that is the number one thing. I mean, it's on my LinkedIn profile. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything, which is not my saying. That's Mark Twain's, but I firmly believe in that. And trust and integrity in this industry, if you have it, you're going to go a long ways. And if you skew it just a little bit, it can be hard to overcome. So
Yeah.
hope that answers your question. So
No, it does. It's just um you're 100% right when it comes to transparency in that um the truth will always, always, always come out, especially in today's market. It always has been. It just comes out faster now. There's, at your fingertips. If, for example, if, you're standing on a lot talking to a customer and he asks you about a specific spec and you blatantly, lie to him or just make something up. I mean, you can pull out a smartphone and within seconds have an answer. And I'm not saying that, there's customers out there that do that intentionally, but if they certainly don't feel like you're being genuine with them, transparent, and you're just answering a question just to answer a question, a lot of times they can get that answer and they'll just go away. They won't necessarily say anything, because overall, people are just going to be nice to you, especially to your face. They will. um, they'll tell you that, they'll make up a story. Man, I got a meeting I got to go hit, or, whatever the case is. And you'll never hear from them again because, you know, if you're in a customer's eyes, if they feel like, man, if this guy's lying to me now, how am I going to be able to trust him? Because if I can't trust him, I can't do business with him. And I think that'll never change. I think there's always going to be full transparency. Um, the more you can share with the customer, the more trust is built, and the more trust you build with that customer, the more opportunities. And I don't want to say the more opportunities you have to screw up or mess up, but it certainly helps. You build up a little bit of credibility in the bank. And then, when you mess up, not if, but when you mess something up, hopefully the credibility bank, you can go to the ATM and cash out a little bit, right? So, but without that, the customer, it's just like we talked about earlier. It's completely transactional.
yeah, yeah, and you get trust, and then what I think comes with trust, if it's never, to me, it's never given, it's earned. But your credibility, you know, your integrity,
Yeah.
and how you conduct business and stay in a professional manner is huge. I mean, everybody's like, well, you're just doing work trucks. I mean, what what does that matter, right? Well, I mean, there's been cases where somebody buys a brand new truck and you do an upfit, and the upfit's subpar, and then there's things where they're saying, well, it's just going to go get scratched and dented anyway because it's a work truck. Well, you know, there have been many cases, not many, but there's been cases where, we've delivered trucks to you in ways, and I've come out there and looked at them and y'all have accepted them. And I'm like, these are going back. These aren't done right. These need to be fixed. And that's another key ingredient of, not only being, you don't want to be an order taker. You want to be an account manager. You want to manage the account. And that doesn't mean managing how many dollar signs are at the end of your check of every month. That means managing how stuff comes in, how things go out, how customers receive product. Do they need to be trained on it? Do they not? You know, in service, like I was talking earlier, you know, that's really important to us to go out and make sure people know how to run our product, because they can be the ones that, if they don't have a good experience, could really ruin a lot of future transactions or just the brand name in general. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, sometimes that first couple of minutes, if it doesn't go off as someone planned, it can certainly leave a bad taste in their mouth. And then all of a sudden, the bad taste turns into a problem with the whole company when,
yeah,
it could have been just, just a simple set of instructions to be able to overcome that objection that someone may not have existed, may not have known existed until it cropped up. So yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. And one of the things you said a minute ago, um, about not having the right answer, there's nothing more, I think, profound from a salesperson that's a professional in this industry to say, man, that's a really good question. I do not have the answer, but I'm going to work on that for you. That moves mountains, man.
Today's podcast episode is sponsored by Sage Oil Vac. Since 1993, Sage Oil Vac has been the authority in the fluid exchange industry, utilizing their patented pump-free system for all of your mobile PM needs. Whether you're needing a lube cart, portable service skid, lube trailer, or fuel and lube truck, Sage Oil Vac has the application that fits your needs. Call 877 Oil Vacs or check them out on the web at sageoilvac.com. When it comes to quality equipment and unbeatable customer service, there's only one name to know: Sage Oil Vac.
Yeah. Well, I think what happens, and we've seen this, our egos get in the way, right? It's like if we get asked a question, and this leads into knowing your product, knowing your industry, right? Because I I've been asked questions, you've been asked questions, and they seem like they're very simple, elementary questions. Like this is something you should have learned on day one,
Yeah.
and you don't know the answer. Well, because it's so simple and so elementary, our ego jumps in the way. And that's when we just blurt something out without, you brought up a good point. You know what? That's a really good question. Now, that customer may feel like, you should have known that,
Yeah.
but he'll at least respect the fact that you admitted that you didn't know it and that you'll get him the right answer. To me, that carries more weight than just answering a question.
Right. Yeah,
So,
because if he gave you the answer and then you were on the other line with the customer selling that to the customer and that was the answer and it was completely wrong, then it ruined your integrity for your customer directly, because
yeah.
you took it from the messenger. So
Just, I had a situation years ago. I was in fact, I think I was ordering some product from you, and one of the guys down the hallway, I'd asked him, I said, "Hey man, are you sure you don't want trailer hitches on these service bodies?" No, the customer said he wants it just as cheap as possible. And I remember you and I talking about it, and I'm going, I'm pretty sure the customer wants a trailer hitch on this. And okay, but whatever he says, well, sure enough, the truth came out. When the customer said, I want it to be as cheap as possible, that was a true statement. And we've
right.
all heard that. Every one of us has heard that, and we'll continue to hear that. But that customer's assumption was that it came standard with a trailer hitch, and that wasn't the case in a lot of cases. And sometimes you have to have the wherewithal to go back to the customer and go, "Hey, Mr. Customer, I know you said you wanted this as cheap as possible. Does that mean you don't want the trailer hitch?" "Well, no, of course I want the trailer hitch. I
Right.
thought it would come standard." But again, our ego got in the way and we didn't ask the question. And then truck
Right.
shows up, there's no trailer hitches. Well, guess what? Sometimes that's not an easy install. Sometimes you got to lift a service body up to make it work. If there's some different plating and different brackets that you have to use, it's not as simple. And again, if a salesperson would stop to think about the scenario of, okay, well, what if these trucks come in and they don't have trailer hitches? What does that mean if we have to go back and add them? Well, we're going to have to, undeck them, and it's not just as simple as sliding a trailer hitch onto something. It's a process. So
in some cases, for sure.
yeah, for sure. And we just have to be better about those things. It's easy to say that we need to be the expert, but let's just face it, nobody's the expert. There are questions all day, every day that get asked from different scenarios, especially coming from the customer that's looking for an answer to a problem. And just because he hasn't found it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And just because they have an answer for that problem doesn't mean it's the best answer to that problem. So it's got to be a collaborative effort for sure.
Yeah, the word that sticks out the most that I try to remove from my vocabulary is assuming.
Oh God.
If
Yes.
if you assume anytime in our industry, uh, and you've had success, um, good for you.
Yeah.
Because the rest of us assuming hasn't got us anywhere. I mean, it's so dumb as far as like, obviously I live in Texas, so and I'm on the Fort Worth side, which is the good side. Anyway, that's a joke. But like if you sell a service body with a ladder rack in Dallas, the majority of them, the ladder rack has to be white. But if you sell it in Fort Worth, everybody's kind of accustomed to black. Now, some people say, well, that's not always true. That's just been in my scenario. So, um, it's like, here's another one. Same scenario. I want the cheapest ladder rack you can get. Okay. So you give them the cheapest ladder rack and you buy the one that doesn't have a wind deflector in the front. That customer would have paid 4 times the amount of a higher, more expensive ladder rack with a wind deflector versus rolling down the road at 55, 60 mile an hour, going bonkers listening to that ladder rack just hum in that cab. So that's an example of, assuming and asking the questions. So
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of that. Um, a customer will often feel if we're asking follow-up questions presented in the wrong way, that we're just trying to upsell them.
Yeah.
But in reality, most of the time, we're just trying to get clarification. Again, I know you said the cheapest, but do your guys ever complain about the ladder rack or material rack, product rack, however you want to phrase it, about it just, I mean, driving them nuts where you can't even talk inside the cab? Well, oftentimes my guys complain about that. Well, we can fix that problem and this will fix your problem and it's really not that much more money.
Yeah.
Well, come to find out, they're like, oh yeah, do that. That makes sense. Well, it's just about having that relationship and that connection and being able to present options without feeling like you're upselling somebody because nobody likes to be sold, right? But they do want the information. They always want the information. And I just present it that way. And that took years to figure that out because at first it does sound like you're trying to upsell them. But, as you get older in this industry, it's a little bit easier to explain things in a way to where a customer doesn't take offense to it. And I just left it to where, hey, look, it makes no difference to me. But if that's a problem, I can fix it. And here's the solution for that. You don't even have to let me know right now. You can call me later, but just let me know before we go to hang the ladder rack on there.
Yeah,
Um,
here's a good example. Here's a good
yeah,
example. So ladder rack, we're on material ladder racks right now.
yeah, yeah,
When I was selling and not a leader or a sales manager, um, you know, when I was selling ladder racks, I would literally put on the ladder rack uh, the pricing already included ratchet straps. And so when you're doing that, um, sell, whenever you're trying to promote that to a dealer or whoever's buying or stocking whatever, you basically you have to explain to them it's like buying shoestrings or shoes without tennis shoes without shoestrings. Because how are you going to attach anything or tie it down safely? So you're providing that already for the customer. So if you had it stocked there and you had another company who's selling the ladder rack or material rack and it doesn't have it on there, they'll go, I want that one because it already has the straps on it, more than likely. the other part of that too is in a sales manager role, as you're trying to explain that to your outside sales team, your sales team has to buy in on it as well and kind of have their own way of explaining it, whether they use the motto, it's like buying tennis shoes without shoestrings or whatever, that kind of deal. Or it's a person going, well, my boss told me we had to put those on there, so that's why they're on there. So if, it's the message. So you can't just go off and just assume that, just because you put it on a quote means people are going to understand it. You have to tell them why and why there's value to it. And I mean, I'm not an end user. My dad was a general contractor. I will tell you, we used to use just, Romex wire to tie ladders down. And yeah, we lost ladders on highway. And you see them today. You'll see them on the side of the road because they were tied down wrong. So I think most people who own a company do not want to have to pay for a ladder that went through somebody's windshield. One, killed somebody or damaged a car really bad on something that would cost less, let's say $300 or $400 to prevent that, and something that's permanently mounted to a material or ladder rack. Smart. So
Yeah, well said. It's nobody realizes how cheap something is until it either breaks or it causes some destruction. And a ladder flying down the highway with cars traveling 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, a lot of times those things are going to get impaled into something.
yep, it's bad.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. Hey, what are your thoughts on, let's talk about social media and how you feel like it's affecting our industry. I mean, obviously we're on LinkedIn a lot. We see a lot of that. We don't see a whole lot of what we do on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or anything like that. But LinkedIn is really where a majority of what we do gets shown. What are your thoughts on social media and where it's going to take us in the future?
It's if you're not doing it, and if it's not on your game plan for this year going forward, you're going to get really passed up. And that goes from manufacturer side, that goes from the marketing side, that goes from sales strategy, all those things. As you know, and some people who follow me on LinkedIn or social, I love off-roading. I love Jeep stuff. So, um, if you looked at my YouTube search engine, it would be either work trucks or Jeep, mostly Jeep related off road stuff, and that's where I get my information. And that's where end users are going to go to get their information. And they're already trying to. There's just not enough content out there. The other thing that's kind of dangerous about it is the content coming out correctly. You want to make sure that you're well represented. So you want to make sure that you have somebody that's filming and editing correctly. You have, you know, we all make mistakes when we're on video. I do it. So you have retakes. There's some cases where when I first started doing videos, I might have misquoted something. And if I did in the past, there's not much I can do to change it other than say that was a mess up on my end. But as you become more of a professional, you need to do it right. You need to clean it up. Um, and I think, with your podcast, like I said, I'm very fortunate to be on here be the first one, but I look at you're in that studio, but I see so much benefit from a podcast being able to go on location to a manufacturer to see a facility where, either one, the company doesn't have, a plane to fly somebody to go see it, or they do have a plane, but it's covered up the whole year. Not everybody can go see it. So to be able to show it in a broader spectrum, in a way where they feel more one-on-one with the manufacturer, or even the upfitter. I mean, goodness, um, is to me very influential. I mean, you know, I remember my first fly into Napide was like in 2003. I was a customer. I was working at Five Star Ford, and I mean, look at the impression it put on me to go after this industry. I think I was 22, 23 years old, something like that. So, um, that had a lot of impact on me, and I'm grateful for that experience and that gave me during that time. So,
Yeah, it certainly did leave an impression on you. Here we are, gosh, 22 years later, and
yeah,
yeah, you're absolutely right though. I mean, there are very few companies out there that have the resources to do what Napa does, the fly in. And it's a, it's a great experience. It really is. They do it well when you're able to sit there and, for me, I've been in this industry long enough to remember Nap. Got to meet him and talk with him on a few occasions, and then of course Bo now. Um, and it's a great experience for truck salespeople. It's a great experience to bring your customer up there. But you're 100% right. There are so many other manufacturers, upfitters, installers, whoever it may be, that would love to be able to host a customer to come in and take a look at their facility and show them what they're able to do and how they can benefit the customer. There are tons of customers and manufacturers and, like I said, upfitters out there that would be very happy to do things like that. A lot of times we just feel like that, they're closed off. They don't really want people there. It couldn't be farther from the truth. They want people there. They want to be able to show you what they can do. Um, because there's so many great companies out there doing it.
Yeah, I mean, as equipment has evolved, and technology is involved in the work truck world, vans, box trucks, ramp trucks, crane trucks, so all these things, they've evolved because of the customer wants, needs, expectations, capacities, all these different things, payloads that they're trying to meet. I mean, all that stuff's evolved by the customer. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a think tank. Not saying that, we all take every information or every bit of information we get and we modify it or change it. That's not always successful in manufacturing, but you get the same message on the same thing multiple times from multiple markets, same deal. You got to listen, and to me, you have to adjust, or if somebody else is going to.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be asked to, give some feedback and some reviews on product that I've encountered. And, what makes the biggest difference, Stephen, and we've talked about this, like I said, there's a lot of great companies out there making, installing, refurbishing, no matter what it is. But the biggest asset you have are your people, because let's face it, a white box is a white box on the back of a truck. It's the people that you work with, the people that install it, the people that make it, the people that warranty it. That's where the experience comes in. And when you're able to connect with some great people and some great companies that are there with you every step of the way, it just goes a long way. But it's the difference is the people. It's like I was in a training class not too long ago, and it was a sales training class, and it was essentially retail driven. And on our side of the industry, retail is completely different than what we do. But I went into it with an open mind and just going to try to extract out what I could. And um, we were going through this training, and they were talking about, how are you going to stand out? What makes you different? And everybody started to, you know, throw up things that make them different, right? Oh well, I'm the best at customer service. Okay, great. Is nobody else in here great at customer service? Well, of course, everybody raised their hand, right? Well, I'm the most knowledgeable. Great. Okay. Is there nobody in here that's knowledgeable? And everybody raises their hand. And what you quickly figure out is what you feel like makes you different just makes you the same as everybody else. It's like, oh, I provide a turnkey operation and it's seamless and it's painless and okay. There's a lot of great people that do that. In fact, that's what most people would tell you that they're about, is a painless operation, a painless process and things of that nature. Well, I have the most inventory on the ground. Okay, well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. But if you don't have the right inventory, it doesn't matter if you have the most, right? So what differentiates those companies and those departments and those organizations is the people. It's getting to know the people, and we build relationships on people, not on buildings. So
Yeah, people buy from people, not something.
mhm,
Yeah.
always will, especially you know you and I have talked about this, and there's been so much talk about authenticity, right? That
Mhm.
we're craving. And I feel like as AI becomes more and more and more prevalent and becomes a staple in our part of the industry, that people are going to want to continue to crave authenticity more so than they ever had before, because little bits of it are being taken away from us. Um, for example, when you generally when you go to a large store that used to have, hundreds of checkout lines. Well, the checkout lines have diminished, and now it's pretty much do it yourself. Well, there's no connection there.
No.
And, I remember my very first job, in high school, I was working at a grocery store as a sack boy. And, it was unheard of for people to sack their own groceries, much less check themselves out. But if you look at it today, there are no sack boys, and you
Yeah.
pretty much have to do everything on your own. So, as we dive deeper into automation and we get further away from the authentic, um, uh, not even just relationships, just interaction. Authentic interaction is going to become more and more prevalent. I think it moves the needle a little. It'll sway the needle on authenticity more than it ever has, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you know, cell phone.
Yeah.
Um, I think has turned a lot of us into introverts. So, you know, you and I have a lot of similarities, and ones we're only children. So, um, some people find a lot of humor in that, I'm sure. But anyway, shocker. But like the cell phone, I firmly believe the cell phone has made a lot of us introverts. So I look at AI doing the same thing. I can't say I have not used AI before, but I can tell you I don't feel comfortable using it for um like I do posts on LinkedIn, right? I could write something up, whatever, and then down there, since I'm on premium, down on the left, oh, you can have AI rewrite it for you, right? So um I can't say I haven't looked at what it writes, but I'll say it comes up more rewriting something for me than it does saying, uh can't come up with anything. So but there's something about being real too. So I mean, hell, I misspell every once in a while, or I use the wrong word for the wrong sentence or something like that. I'm not perfect, guys, and so I try to do the best that I can, but it's like delays in conversations. I may pause for a minute and then respond. Well, that's real. Like I'm processing something. Um, so AI is going to have its reasons for sure for efficiencies and stuff, but it's yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a scary thing for me, but it's my thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary right now for a lot of people because we don't fully understand it. I mean, AI has been around for a while, and it's just now really coming to the surface of how to utilize it and automate.
Public
And
use. Public use.
yeah, of course, yes, exactly, yeah, more public use. But my feel is that AI is going to automate things. And if you look at this, so years ago in another lifetime, um, I worked for a company called General Dynamics, and you know, they built um, airplanes. I was part of the F-16 program, and um, AI back then was called robotics, right? So they were bringing in robotics to replace people, and it was met with a lot of criticism. Um, a lot of resentment because, one robot could, take the place of 20 hourly employees. And so, there's a lot of people that were upset about it. But when they figured out that, okay, well, if I can use this to my advantage, then I could create robotics, now AI, to my advantage, then it's going to create um, some credibility for me and certainly a sense of urgency. So I think AI is used correctly. I think it'd be very beneficial um, in our side of the industry. I think in my opinion, I think it's going to take a long time for our side of the industry to become solely reliant on AI as other industries across our globe. That's just my opinion.
Well, I agree with that, and I think that there's a lot of automation going on in the manufacturing world, and I think some of it has to do with obviously supply and demand, um, for sure. The other part of it too is you're building something replicated over and over again, and let's say you're always short staffed, and let's say a certain department, maybe it's custom or modifying or something like that. You're able to take that labor force over somewhere in customization or modification that would have been they would have been in the line for standardization, where you know robotics have taken that over. And then if you can take that labor force and move it to more custom, you can probably yield more margin too, just due to the fact that normally customization costs more money. And so you're able to maybe, I don't know if, I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody, but maybe people's salaries change because they got to move to a custom versus standard because they're more looked at as a craft.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think as a, as a general rule, those that are resistant or hesitant to technology, I mean, obviously there's a lot of reasons for that, but um, and it could be fear. Fear, is it going to take my job away? Is it going to eliminate me, my position, whatever the case is? Well, I would say you will probably want to meet that fear with some education. Educate yourself on it. Figure out what it is, and then back to even our product. Try to become the expert. Try to become the source of when someone needs to. If they need an answer, they go to you. That's why I called you. That's why I called you so much, was because I knew that when I called you, I was going to get an answer. And if you didn't have the answer, you were going to dive into it and get back with me. Um, so
or,
yeah,
or connect you with the right person.
yeah, right.
I mean, I'm doing that today. You got to think I came from a world where I was doing nothing but upfitting on anything and everything, and now I'm more in a honed in sector that I don't do a lot of things that I used to do. Lift gates, cranes, service bodies. I don't do that stuff anymore. But I still have you know, uh, a really fruitful and thankful um, group of people that still call me that are my friends and customers. And, I'll send them in places where I feel like they should go, and they do it. But they also do it because I have that connection with that person I'm sending them to. And, it's not a transaction. Like Steven doesn't get kickback on any of that. To me, I look at it as that will come back around later, whether that customer who I'm trying to help may need something that I'm doing now, or they may know somebody that needs something that I'm doing now, and that'll come back around. So, um, yeah, it's different.
Yeah. So I've got a question now that now that you're out of the bailment pool world, you guys don't offer bailment through Sage Oil, as far as I know.
No.
So, the talk here over the last, well, really since probably COVID, I think it really got ramped up. You and I have talked about this, and I never really tried to dive in too much onto it because it never really directly affected me. But what's the fear of bailment pool upfitters companies that the manufacturers, and I'm talking about the big three, Ford, Ram, um, General Motors. What's the fear that the bailment pools are going to go away? Because from my side of the desk, I don't see that. I don't see any way that the manufacturers are going to start doing away with the pool companies because they just simply can't do what a third party can do. Take anybody, whether it be Napa, Redding, all the way down to, like Dealer's Truck, the old General Truck Body, companies like that. I don't see any way that the manufacturers. What is your take on that if you have one?
I don't see it going away. I just don't see it expanding. So as acquisitions happen, mergers happen. I mean, you take a large company who buys several locations or whatever. Yeah, they may be buying a pool, but that pool is also being used broadly amongst multiple locations. Um, that's a good question. It's probably one that I want to be sensitive on. Because I mean I have my thoughts, but they're my thoughts. But I don't see it going away. I just don't see it expanding, and I see maybe what is available shrinking. Like the product line. Um, but I'm very close with a lot of the OEMs. I'm grateful for those relationships that I have, and all I could think of is to always say positive and encouraging things to them about bailment pools, which I strongly advocate for because I mean, um, you hit it right on the head. I mean, those third party locations have a lot to do with getting things done or not getting things done. So I think there's some that are performing very well with bailment pools, and I think that some are not. And I think the OEMs have made some modifications to that in the past on how fast pool units move versus sitting in a pool. Um, that I think I'd like to leave it there on my
Mm,
opinion. So
yeah, yeah, I would agree with some of that. I mean, you're starting to see it, like on van upfits. Um, a lot of that. I say a lot. There are some, um, Ford and GM and Ram, to my knowledge, are offering, factory upfits, rack and bin packages and things like that. But yeah, I could see to where they won't expand it, but I don't see any way that it goes away.
so they're offering it, but they're not installing it. It's going through a ship through.
Yeah, yeah,
So I just want to be clear on that. So whoever's listening to this understands that like Ford's not installing the bin package. It's the manufacturer's got a facility near the plant that's installing it and then possibly sending it back through ship through and stuff like that. So
yeah.
um yeah, or it might be wheels up pickup, I don't know. But yeah, I mean I could speak on Toyota. I mean Toyota's started a program where they're doing like major modifications on overland vehicles. Most people don't know that. So if you want, you know, uh, a new, what is that? The not Land Rover, but the Land Cruiser or whatever. If you want one of those new ones that are out there, you can send it through this third party, and you can get a lift kit, tires, wheels, suspension. You can get a rack put on the top. You can get a tent put on there. Refrigerator mounted in the back. I mean, that's the neat thing about our industry, right? Like how how does how do like the outfitters that are already here now somehow get involved with those type of outfits that are being done? Because that's Toyota's not doing it; it's a third party that's doing it. So I don't know. That's
Yeah.
my opinion.
Speaking of which, have you seen the Jeff Bezos backed Slate Motors pickup?
Oh
Have you seen that?
yeah, very interesting. One of the things that I saw about that was the cost on it was what, $20,000-$30,000.
Under
Uh,
25 is what they tout. Under
yeah, under,
$25,000. Uh-huh.
so under 25. Let's see, 1,600 pound towing weight, right? And then 1,000 pound payload.
I think it's 1,000 pound tow and
Okay.
1,600 pound payload. Right.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. I've been watching this market of these little small Japanese trucks that are coming over right now.
Mhm.
That are all gas powered, and they're coming over. And they sell for $15,000-$20,000. That are they come over on a container, and people are selling those. I see that this being very, very um, a very good product for municipalities, colleges, and stuff like that. Golf courses for golf course management. So I find it very, very interesting. Um, and again, it's a product line that's not really going after like you know long distance travel, heavy capacity carrying. It's stuff that's more local.
Yeah.
So
I can see that those trucks landing on college campuses to where range isn't a problem. Um, Municipality use, um, things,
plants.
yeah, yeah, just where you're not going to worry about pushing the limits of the range.
Yeah.
But I think comparably speaking to, um, like the Ford product and certainly the Tesla product, I think the price point is now going to start to be appealing to an end user. Um, I don't know until they start getting ranges out there to in excess of 350 to 400 miles at that price point at $25,000. If you had something that was in that 300 to 400 mile range and you didn't need to carry a lot of weight, by the way, it's a 1,400 pound payload
Oh,
and 1,000 pound tow. So we were we were close, but
we're
uh,
everywhere.
we were just all over it, right? But um, I could see where that truck could certainly fit a lot of applications. I mean, certainly ICE vehicles are going to be your prevalent choice for the foreseeable future, in my opinion.
Right.
But I could see that slate pickup certainly fit in a lot of applications because of its price point.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, be interesting to see what kind of upfits that you can get on that because um, it's that vehicle is small in stature, so I think a service body's out of the question. But I know you can customize them with a cap, and I can certainly see where um, you put a cap on there with some racks and some bins on the inside. I can see to where maybe a landscape company, someone doing sprinklers, something light. I don't maybe plumbing,
Yeah.
electrical. I think it starts to get a little much at 1,400 pounds total payload. But
Full
I could,
services.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Pool services, pest control,
Yeah.
things like that, right? So, yard maintenance, things like that. Yeah, I could see where that might fit a pretty good bill. So, be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I think they're supposed to land in 26. You can
Oh wow.
reserve them now, but I don't think they start landing until next year. So it'd
Huh.
be interesting to see.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Full charge in 4 to 8 hours. Of course, that's all predicated on your charger as well. So
Right.
20 to 80% charge in around 30 minutes. The same thing that Tesla's touted for a long time
Right.
on a level 2 AC charger.
Very
Interesting.
stripped down too, though,
Yeah,
with itself.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. All good stuff, brother. So what do you think the future of this industry looks like? Tell me what you see in the next 15, 20 years. Where do you think we'll be?
I mean, I think we're still gonna be. I don't. I don't see EV really playing a big role. I mean, it's going to be obviously in our industry and it's going to continue to increase, but I don't think it's like in my lifetime, I don't think it's going to be crazy, but it's just my opinion. I think and that's based on like, where I live, where we live, and you know, Texas in general, the size, the mass. Like if I don't, and I might be wrong, but you know, I don't see a whole lot of EV vehicles probably being sold in the oil and gas industry because of the drives. I mean, heck, some guys are driving 250 miles just to get to the job, and then they work and then drive 250 back. And if they're remote and out in the middle of nowhere, unless they got a generator on the back of their EV vehicle to charge it, they're just not gonna it's not gonna work. So now, not to sound like I'm ignorant and I'm just thinking of Texas, but I do see this being a tremendous asset in certain different sectors in our world. I mean, like I said, universities. I live out, you know, 20 minutes from downtown Fort Worth West, and probably 80% of all the vehicles that drive into our neighborhood are the electric Amazon van. So, I mean, that's a lot. So obviously it's working in that space. I think it'd be fun to find out what the analytics is behind that since they've had them in their fleet for a long time. You know, what is analytics on that? So,
Yeah.
um, you know, obviously oil and gas, is kind of slowed down right now, but you know, with ebbs and flows, it's just how it is. That'll fire back up again as much as you know, you know, both know it will. Um, And I still think there's going to be somebody out there that's going to redesign the service body. I don't know why. Service body's been built kind of the same way it has for years, but I think I just have some weird feeling that somebody's going to kind of change it up, and
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing that.
You know, and it seems like here recently, there's been a lot of new manufacturers in the utility body industry, and um, like Falcon for one has a unique approach to their bed. Everybody does. You know, for the longest time, you could take, you know, a napide and a rating body, put them side by side, take the tail lights out, and you couldn't tell a difference. I mean, they were very subtle differences, but now, you know, flip tops have, you know, ever since Royal kind of made their standard years ago, that flip tops have now become a little more prevalent than they used to be. Um, you know, an integrated tail light, I think it was the EV product, EBY, the EV body.
Oh, yeah, the
Yeah,
corner tail.
the corner. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, there's subtle differences, and I think that's more to try to just stand out a little bit. I don't know that it offers, you know, a whole lot of benefit. I'm sure it does. You know, having a corner tail light that's not exposed, you know, should offer some benefit. Flip tops, obviously, those are, you know, have always offered some benefit. But you know what's crazy? In all my years of selling, you know, utility bodies, I sold probably 50-50 with people that wanted flip tops and those that didn't. It just wasn't for everybody. It's just like what we talked about, you know, earlier, and that every market's different, every customer's different. Everybody wants, you know, just different things to fit, you know, their application as best as possible. And I think that'll continue. Be interesting to see. Yeah, I'd be interested to see a different service body. I don't know what you could do.
Yeah,
Um, you know,
some of
because
them are pushing the needle. I mean, there's some of them changing it up, you know, a little bit, but
yeah,
uh, yeah, I think I just feel like it's actually, you know, it's exciting to see all these other people come up because that just
yes,
means there's a lot of market share out there to be gained. Um, I look at competition's good competition, and it's it's giving the customer more variety to look at things.
yeah,
You know, and some of it may, you know, be really, really good. Some may not. I mean, I don't know. That's somebody else's decision to make, but it's fun to see, you know, just some change in different people coming in and being aggressive. I mean, entrepreneurship is 101 in this. I think that's another thing. If you're an entrepreneur, have an entrepreneur mind, and you want to get into an industry that allows you to flex that a little bit, that's the SSS industry for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I think there's going to be a lot of enhancements, you know, but until they start changing GVW capacities, you really can't, there's not a whole lot that can be done. Obviously, aluminum was a big moving factor over the last, 15 years, with the OEs now uh, pretty much offering aluminum exclusively on their products. And then um, the utility body industry has offered it for a while. But again, it's polarizing. A lot of people, if they don't need the aluminum application because of rust out, they're certainly opting to stay with the steel body. And you know as well as I do, the steel body just weighs more. You can get, you have more capacity on a aluminum body. But I think the cost, the initial upfront cost factor is really what's prohibiting it. If that aluminum body was to compete with the steel pricing, I could see the steel body becoming less and less prevalent. But until that happens, I mean, there's always going to be um, a certain faction that's going to continue with the steel body.
yeah, aluminum's about 40% more expensive than steel.
Yeah.
And then the offside of it is it's normally 40% weight savings.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, that's just an average. So
Yeah. It's tough because you've got, big companies out there that are trying to save as much money as they can. If they can look at initial investment into a steel body, allows them to buy, one extra truck rather than going with an aluminum body that doesn't give them that flexibility. Odds are they're going to opt for the steel body because it works, right? So that's all interesting stuff. But,
yeah,
well, buddy, I appreciate this, man. This has been a blast.
absolutely.
I look forward to just how many people we can touch with this platform. I gotta be honest with you, man. I haven't spent a whole lot of time really, um, talking about it within a close circle of mine. But man, there's just been some great, 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 great response to the idea of being able to get out there and get on a platform to tell a story and connect with some potential customers and decision makers that hopefully will be listening and watching these episodes.
Yeah, it's refreshing. Obviously, we hope everybody finds it engaging. Obviously, we talked a lot about work, a little bit of personal, and yeah, I think it's going to be a hit, man. And wishing you all the best. One of the things that I do want to let you know is like, you've always been a mentor of mine. You gave me a chance at, the first time we met, gave me some good advice, and, there was some conversation about, everybody sells the same thing. Tell me why yours is different, and how can you do that? And I came up with a plan, and we worked on it, and we went out there and killed it. So, um, that word we got used a lot today, different. It's good. It's okay to be different in this industry. Um, and like I said, there's a lot of opportunity here for growth and for people to do really good things. And it's
Yeah.
exciting to see it. It's not, it's like you said earlier, we're getting older. I'm 46, and um, it just seems like it wasn't too long ago I was in my 30s doing this, and I was kind of the young one. And now I'm seeing a lot of the younger people come into it, and that's fun. And if there's anything I could do to help them be successful, I'm available anytime. No strings attached, no price accumulated, just, fostering good, strong friendships.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Man, I appreciate the kind words, buddy. Yeah, I mean, I do remember that conversation, as a matter of fact. I remember where we were, and
Yeah.
gosh, that was 15 years ago, at least
Yeah.
15 years ago. I remember it. And I saw a guy that was willing to, jump in there and do anything. And it, and I got to be honest, Stephen, mentors in our in our lives sometimes. They don't mean to be that to us, but they are, right? And it's just little things that they do or something they might say. And, honestly, I didn't think anything more about what I said than when I said it. Um, I think I said something to the fact of, hey, man, just stand out, do something different. Just do what these other guys aren't doing. And who knew what it was going to lead to? But man, you certainly knocked it out of the park, dude. You were just doing everything that everybody expected and wanted, and you were just willing. You were just always an open book. You were just always transparent, and I appreciate everything. We had a really good run, dude. That was we sold a lot of trucks
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
took care of a lot of business. So I
A lot of
appreciate
fun.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
man. So if somebody wanted to get a hold of you or Sage Oil Vac,
yeah.
tell us how to do that.
Best way you can reach me is through LinkedIn. Stephen Farr. You just research that one. You'll find me in there. Don't mind sharing my cell phone, 817-688-5434. Emails sfar@sageoilvac.com. And then for any Sage related products, information, or anything like that, you can email me directly, or you can go to our website at www.sageoilvac.com. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. Um, and if there's anything I can help you out with, we would love to help you. We do stock trucks, and trailers and skids ready for shipment immediately. We've got several, class 5, class 6 non-CDL trucks that are available right now. I think we have 3 or 4. We have some class 7s that are 1,000 gallons, and we have some class 8 2,000 gallons that are going to become available pretty soon. So if anybody has any interest in those, please let me know. We'd love to help you out.
Awesome, man. That is very cool. Well, buddy, I appreciate it, and I wish you well. And anything that I can do to help you, please, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always there for you. I'm your biggest advocate, man, and I wish you well. And let's do this again sometime.
I'm ready. Let's do it again, and wish you all the success, and appreciate the kind words, and I feel exactly the same. So
Yeah, man.
anybody else that gets to come on this, it'd be a privilege. So make sure you can do that. Take time and do your research. Get prepared. Be ready for this thing because it's fun.
Yeah. Awesome, buddy. Well, good deal, man. Well, until next time, be safe. Take care.
Thanks, Pat. See you
All
later.
right, buddy. See ya.
See ya.